So I was leaving earlier, the place where we usually watch Bears games on Sunday morning. And one of the guys who works, he's hey, are you scared? Are you scared about tonight? And I said, I'm not, because I know that there's going to be, this is a long story. We talked about this, over the past couple of episodes of the show. Like, this needs to be seen as a trilogy for Caleb Williams. This is going to be a long form piece because the alignment of the general manager, the coach, and the quarterback are all in sync. We're going to get 4 years of Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles. What we saw tonight, however, is pretty incredible. When you think about this, when you go out there, and if you would have said this is the best case scenario of what we wanted to see out of Caleb Williams, this was it. It really could not have been much better. Now, I know that the people, and it is so easy for people to be like, it's just the preseason. Of course, you weren't saying that when Caleb Williams missed the screen. When you saw a little bit of frustration because they're playing a game, he's trying to hit a screen, and then he missed it. And then it was the biggest story in the world. Then there were people talking about how Caleb Williams was possibly going to be a bust. Somebody on some radio station somewhere, somebody that's somewhat prominent. I don't know who it was. I didn't recognize the face, but he was like, is he the next Johnny Manziel? Like, he already has better numbers than Johnny Manziel. So that's a pretty ridiculous summation right there. But what we saw out of Caleb Williams was the best opening drive that you could have asked for somebody who is under the gun, who's extremely scrutinized. Everybody is picking apart every single thing he does, and we're going to do it here in just a minute. So, Shane, let's go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. It's going to be sick.
Oh, we cut it short. I was waiting for all the Bear stuff to come through, but no, it is just going to be the quick intro. I'm sitting here trying to tweet it out to everybody, so forgive me while I go ahead and do that. I could be more of a professional. I could be better than that. I could be ready to go and on my P's and Q's and everything like that, but we wanted to get this out there. Still wanted to go while the show was going on, while everybody was still watching the game. But I think for the most part, a lot of people checked in. They were like, what is Caleb doing? Cool, that's it. I mean, obviously, a lot of us Bears fans are still watching. We watched Tyson Bagent. My guy Tyler Scott was out there catching a touchdown. That was pretty dope, so we really like to see that. But we're really excited about what we're seeing about the Chicago Bears. Are we going to be like Dennis Green? Are we going to crown them quite yet? No, we're not going to crown them. And speaking of crowned, listen, you can play fantasy or you can rule it. That's right. The fantasy champions walk away with a plastic trophy, a sad little scepter, little GG in the group chat or anything like that. But that ain't it. Crown champs, baby. That is where it's at. You got rings, scepters, robes. You don't just win it. You rule your fantasy football league. And listen, while your friends are going to Applebee's and going to Outback and having an awesome blossom, the guys at Crown Champs are having parties on rooftops. They're having yachts. They're having party buses. They're going all out for their fantasy drafts. It's not going to be some little sad pizza party somewhere else. This is Crown Champs. And check this out. Sign up for the Hall of Champions subscription. Designer level gear starting at just $2.99 a month. That's less than your league mates, how much they spend crying in their little appetizers, crying in their Brussels sprouts or anything like that. This is Crown Champs. Don't win your fantasy league. Rule it. Check out crownchamps.com. That's crownchamps.com. Tell them Adam Rank sent you. Get 15% off. You go out there looking like a real champ. All right, let's talk about what is going on. I think Michael F. Florio is here right now. If he's here, Michael is in. Oh, he's there. Honestly, Michael, welcome to the show. For those of you who are unaware, I guess I should have given you a better introduction. Not only is Michael F. Florio one of the lead fantasy analysts for the NFL Network, he is also one of the newest hosts on the Sick Podcast Network. Yes, the Sick Podcast, where they talk all things Buffalo Bills. We got that going on. You and Stevie Johnson have been chopping it up. Michael, welcome to the show. How are you doing? I'm glad that you were not afraid. I'm glad you didn't duck this show because I wouldn't have blamed you if you'd wanted to.
It was bad. I know Stevie's going to be jumping on in a minute to join us, but oof. I mean, look, it's a preseason, right? That's what I'm going to tell myself. But yeah, 28-0 at halftime.
Dude.
Not a whole lot. Your Bears, though, I will give credit where it is due.
Let's
Bears,
talk about this. Well, let me ask you.
Good.
Let me ask you about that, because honestly, obviously Josh Allen's not playing. A lot of starters are not playing. But as somebody who is Bears centric, obviously I'm going to go out there and think that was the most important game in the world. As somebody who watches football, now you watch football, you study it, you break down film. You're going to be on NFL Fantasy Live this week talking about in the NFL Fantasy Podcast. What do you make of it? Like, what do you take away from Caleb's performance? Not just necessarily fantasy. We can dive into that in a minute, but as a football player, what are your biggest takeaways from that performance?
I mean, it was everything you wanted to see, right? Like, yeah, it might not be all of the Bills starters. There were some out there, but like, that's not Caleb's fault. Like, he's like his stats or something suddenly doesn't count because it's not against all of the usual guys. Like, he looked fantastic, going through his progressions, like, and what I really loved, and this is what was advertised, but the players were being used all over the field. You had Loveland lining up out wide. You had Odunze in the slot, like moving all over the place. And it wasn't like Caleb was locking in on one guy or anything like that. So what was it? 7 plays they went down the field and scored a touchdown in. I don't see how. And then the second drive, I know it stalled out on that third down, but like up until that point, it was like, yeah, the Bears are going to march down the field again and score a touchdown. So I think Caleb, and they keep talking about high completion percentage is what they want. Like he gave you everything I think you wanted and then some.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people will look at the final stat line. They probably weren't watching the game. I'm assuming many people weren't, especially if you're a hater, because there's nothing to be gained out of it. But here's the thing: like Caleb's misses, they're not designed misses, but they show a level of maturity that we didn't have last season. You know, when it would be 3rd and short and Caleb's trying to throw the ball 40 yards down the field, that is the kind of stuff that they need to get away from. It's something that David Carr had talked about when he joined the show a couple of weeks ago, is like starting to be boring as possible. Caleb had a 2nd and 5, threw the ball away. He got chased out of the pocket, didn't have anybody open, didn't take a hit, didn't do anything, just threw the ball away. You're like, okay, that's great. And then they go out there, they pick up the first down, they eventually go down and score. Earlier in the next drive, too, the 2 of the passes that he missed, one of them was a blown up screen attempt that the Bills sniffed out, and he just grounds that right there. And then the other one, the 3rd and 5, was actually Rome Odunze dropping the football. Not to call him out, but Rome will tell you, I should have caught that football. So really, I know that you said, and I know you didn't mean anything by it by saying the drive stalled out. It really wasn't Caleb's fault.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
That's what I worry about right now. I just don't want it to be Caleb's fault at this moment.
And look, I think you should feel great as a Bear. Not like your defense was bringing pressure constantly. But yeah, like that's a play you expect Rome to make, and DJ Moore getting involved. But it felt like they were not trying to show too much, but they were still just everything was working. And Caleb played great tonight. Like this was, again, it's just the preseason, but I don't see how Caleb could have had a better night than he did.
Would you say it was decisive? I think that was one of the most impressive things for me when you were looking at Caleb Williams and even throwing the ball down the field. Now, obviously on the first play, it gets blown up. He's got to circle out. He's already being chased. At first you're like, great. They're already getting pressure on him again. He rolls out. He goes, I think he hit Loveland on it. Yeah, he hit Loveland. And so, okay, gain. They got it. Okay. Didn't try anything fancy. Didn't run around for his life or anything. Just rolled out, completed a pass, and went about his business. But the throws downfield, I thought, especially to both tight ends, were especially impressive.
Yeah, and we know Caleb has that in his game, right? Like we saw that at USC. We saw that in flashes last year. I think more than anything, it's that Caleb had to learn again that he has time in the pocket, because last year, under constant pressure, constant duress, eventually, you just have that inner clock that you think you're constantly having to make a play, to run with your legs and create something. It felt like Caleb trusted that he was going to have time, and we know he has all the arm talent in the world. So if you give him that time in the pocket, I have a lot of faith that he is going to make the right decision, and I don't think there's a throw he can't make at the NFL level. So, yeah, I think the Bears are a offense that could really surprise people this year. Because I know, like us doing this every day, we expect that. But I think people who are just going to think like, oh yeah, Caleb wasn't great his rookie year, they're going to be really surprised. Because I think that we're going to see the generational prospect that was advertised.
One of the haters in the comments of something, talked about the fact that during Caleb's first 2 drives, or his only 2 drives, they're like, well, there was no run game. I believe that was by design. I feel like when you're in a situation like this, hey, we don't care. Like, we're not going to try to run we're not trying to establish the run. We're not trying to grind clock, control possession. We're trying to get Caleb into as many passing situations as possible. Obviously, I'm saying this as somebody as a biased Bears fan, but did you have a similar read?
Yeah, and I think it's smart that coaches do that, right? Like, you're not going to be doing this once the games start mattering, but your objective tonight was to see Caleb in your system if you're Ben Johnson and see how he would handle everything. And none of your regular running backs were out there, so what good are you going to get out of running the ball over and over again? Like, I think that if you are Ben Johnson or a Bears fan or and you're listening to this podcast right now, like, that was what you wanted to see. You wanted to see Caleb take command of that offense, lead a drive, lead what could have easily been 2 scoring drives. But that first drive, you mentioned, but the throws to both the tight ends, like that was so impressive that I knew we were going to come on and do this. I was like, we're going to talk about Caleb the whole time because that was the story tonight. Like, there's nothing on the Bills side really worth talking about. Maybe a couple of depth battles, but that's really it. But from the Bears side, like, I think there was a lot to talk about. Caleb looked great. Like I mentioned, moving all the pieces around on offense. Like, and I think we're just getting a taste of what Ben Johnson is going to do. But he is so smart that I think that your guys are constantly going to be in a position to succeed.
No, that's one of the most impressive things is the way players are getting schemed up, the way that he seems to use a lot of his pieces out there as well. I want to pull up this comment from Jim Ingram at 1042, where he says, solid first quarters. Receivers seem to know their assignments. Thanks, Shane. LB3 showed some serious physicality blocking on that TD run on the goal line. Yeah, we did see that. Okay. Curious about Monungai's absence and concerned about defensive back depth. Obviously, there was an injury in the defensive backfield as well. But one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is obviously the Bears took a second-round stab for Luther Burden III, and he's going out there looking pretty good. I thought he showed some things. During the offseason, when I do my mock draft, I do a mock draft with a twist where I don't sit there and say, this guy is going to go to this guy is going to go here or go there. I try to tell teams what they should do. And let me ask you, the thing that I told the Bills to do in the first round was to draft Luther Burden III. Do you think that passing, and it doesn't have to necessarily be him, but Travion Henderson, there's going to be some offensive guys the Bills passed on. Do you think that ends up hurting the Bills at any point?
Well, I did love Luther Burden as a prospect, and I think you guys got a really good one there. I think at least from my point of view, I've reached a point where I trust the offense. Like, I think they're in a better situation than they were last season, just because guys like Khalil Shakir and is proven now, and we know like James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson could hold down a backfield, and Keon Coleman you're hoping takes a step too. I think Josh Palmer is an upgrade, and I know another person that's going to be joining us loves Josh Palmer. So right. I think the Bills, like, maybe beyond this year when like you could get to a point where you're like, yeah, maybe they look, I still look back at the Ladd McConkey no pick and I'm like, they could have had Ladd McConkey on this team. But as long as Josh Allen is doing Josh Allen things, I think the Bills offense will be fine because he'll get the most out of whoever you put out there with him.
All right. Also joining the show right now, he is Michael's co-host on the, what is it called? Sick Podcast Buffalo?
Bills Banter.
Bills Banter. One of my favorite receivers back in the day. And he's an awesome personality, an awesome guy. Stevie Johnson is joining us right now.
What's up, brothers?
There he is. Oh my gosh. So good to see you. I know you don't remember me from back in the day, but I used to love when you used to come around the Culver City studios. You were such a cool guy and really always appreciated you. And I'm glad that you and Michael are going to be chopping it up about the Buffalo Bills this season. How are you doing?
Yeah, man, it's good to circle back with you. You know, them days was pretty cool, waking up early in the morning and, getting those interviews in. It was pretty fun. But, it's cool creating with Mike, being able to watch the Bills and, get my input. It's cool.
I want to get your input on the Bills. I'm going to actually, why don't we do this? The same question that I just asked Michael, because one of the things I thought that the Bills should have done in the first round this year is drafted a wide receiver like Luther Burden III, who was out there showcasing his skills. Michael doesn't seem too concerned, but do you think it's going to end up eventually catching up to the Bills that they don't have somebody that you would consider a true number one wide receiver?
I mean, I don't think the offense is the problem. I think at the end of the day, when you look back at the team last year, it was, not being able to stop the pass on certain downs, on big downs. Getting off the field was the issue with the Buffalo Bills. It really wasn't the offense. It kind of reminded me when I was playing with Fitzpatrick. We was putting up numbers on the offensive side, but it kind of didn't equate to nothing because the defense was giving up a lot of numbers. And we see guys on our Buffalo Bills defense that's talented and they can evolve, but there's still a physicality that you have to bring to the game that I'm not seeing right now. And I think that's going to be the thing that's going to define whether the team go to the Super Bowl or continue to just win AFC championships, which is cool. But, we expect more from this team.
Yeah, the expectation levels for our two teams are probably a little bit different because obviously Buffalo Bill fans are waiting to break through. They've been on the door, so you're right there close. There should be Super Bowl aspirations in Buffalo for the Chicago Bears, getting to 500, challenging for the playoffs seem to be some notable goals. So, Steve, I want to ask you, Michael and I have been talking about this. What do you make of what Caleb Williams was able to do tonight? Because I know a lot of people might just consider it just preseason, but for a Bears fan like myself, it could not have gone any better.
Yeah, for sure. And for a former player, you want to see players do well. And he's a former Heisman. He's been doing his thing on the college level. You want to see success ultimately. So what we saw today was what we expect from a number one pick for the Bears organization. And I feel like your organization has been getting closer and closer to getting back to that hard, loudmouth type of defense. At first it was kind of soft. I felt like y'all was waiting, and then y'all would let the rush get about 5 yards, and then y'all would make contact. That's not the Bears football, but I can see that y'all getting back to the nitty gritty. And I see the same with the Buffalo Bills. It's just in the secondary when it comes to that 5-yard cushion. When you let guys run by without getting a physical jam or a competitive move on them, you go lose to anybody because the offenses are so great. Like, hence, Caleb Williams going up against anybody in the AFC, which we will be going against as a Buffalo Bills community. So I just think the guys got to get physical, and that's going to be the X factor for all of these teams, brother.
Yeah, man, it's so great. Like, honestly, it's so good hearing your perspective and getting both of you guys to come in here. If you're ever in Chicago, we're going to go ahead and take you out on the town. And the best place to go out, your next game day spot, you know where it's going to be in Chicago? If you're a fan of Chicago sports, Bears, Bulls, Hawks, Cubs, Sox, you got to watch games at Twisted Shamrock. It is one of the best bars in all of Chicago, right there by Midway Airport. They've got huge TVs. If you go to the bar, huge TV. They got private screening rooms, huge TV, killer patio. This time of year when the weather's actually nice in Chicago, you want to go out there, hit up one of those killer patios. Twisted Shamrock has you covered. Wide variety of drink specials, beers, and I don't know, if you like an old fashioned like I do, nobody does it better than the Twisted Shamrock. My place to go whenever I'm in Chicago. That is my first stop every time, and it's my last stop right before I hit the airport and go on my way. All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you one other thing about the AFC East, because you brought it up. Who is the challenger for the Bills? Is it just a matter of, because I was doing my season predictions, I got the Bills winning the division, but is it going to be one of those things, like who challenges them? Because I'm sort of optimistic about the Jets, but I didn't really like what I saw from them the other night.
You can start on this one, Mike.
I don't think there's a clear. I think it's between. It's crazy because I think the most people would say the Dolphins, but I think one of the Jets or Patriots surprised this year, and they are the number twos like in the AFC East. But yeah, I don't think there's like no one has a Josh Allen, and it's what now 5 years in a row.
That's most teams in the NFL. You do not have a Josh Allen.
When you win it 5 years in a row, I think until someone else takes it from you, it's yours. So I don't think they have a direct competitor, but if I had to pick one, I think the Patriots seem like one that could surprise to me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with none. It's going to come down to playoffs. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go to, playoffs. And when it comes to that playoff game, it's any team with an offense if I don't see an evolving defense from our Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I honestly have a hard time finding anybody challenging them, especially in the division. I think it's really, I have them as the number one seed this year in the AFC. I think that they'll go out there, have home field advantage throughout. Will they be able to take advantage of it? You hope so, because that's what you want to see. And I think that's why they've been dressing so much on the defensive side of the football. One of the things I really liked about the Bears tonight, though, going back to them, is, and obviously with Caleb, they did not run the ball. I don't think they wanted to run the ball. They just wanted him to go out there and make some passes. Then they brought in Tyson Bagent, who looked really good and made a lot of good passes. And then we saw more of the running game. Then we saw some play action. Stevie, let me ask you, in a situation that you have in Chicago, you have Caleb Williams. He's the number one overall pick, a former Heisman Trophy winner. Tyson looks really good. Now, a lot of fans will be like, well, why don't we just start Tyson Bagent? He looked way better. Inside the locker room, how does that play? Do people, is it like, hey, that was cool, but Caleb's unquestioned the number one guy, right?
Yeah, it's so funny because, that is not even an option. Caleb is the guy no matter what, Tyson is doing great, and no matter what he did, he can even throw a ball and it turns gold in the air. He's still going to be competing to be that number two, And if anything happened to Caleb, that just gives a comfortability with the crowd and the fan base to know that we got somebody that can come in and sling it and still keep the momentum of the offense going. So, right now, all that they can cut out the chatter to him competing for the starting job. This is Caleb's team, respectfully, and I'm looking forward to seeing him evolve. I'm looking forward to. I support him. I support the Bears.
No, and I love Tyson too, but you get these. I have relatives who live in like the rural parts of the state. Like, oh, this Tyson Bagent guy, he's pretty good, huh? And we're like, listen, he's never starting. He's never, outside of an injury, he's never starting over Caleb Williams.
Right.
Maybe if we've got everything locked up in week 18 and we can rest our starters, we can do something like that. Let's move on, though. I know a lot of people will see that Michael and I are doing this. They're going to want to get some fantasy talk in here. First of all, Stevie, let me ask you, when you look at DJ Moore, when you're starting to look at like some of the best wide receivers in the game, every time I go out there, I'm always like, hey, DJ Moore is a top 10 receiver, just a top 10 receiver in the NFL. We can make our picks of who are there. Where do you, as a former player, where do you see DJ Moore in the grand scheme of things in the NFL?
Well, I see him on the outside of the top 10, and it may be just because where he is, and I'm going off of last year, and Caleb Williams was pressured a lot. Therefore, you're not getting enough time to get open or to get to a certain spot, and maybe the quarterback's off of his spot because he was sacked one of the highest amongst the league. So that kind of deters what DJ Moore, a receiver, can do. And I've seen a lot of frustration, and he has top 10 talent. However, you got to put things together in the league and get a team over the hump and get them into a playoff berth and et cetera, to be really solidified in that top 10. And I see DJ as a talent, but maybe this is the year he do knock into that top 10 and take his team over the hump. And I'm looking forward to seeing it.
All right. I gotta take Stevie Johnson's word for it. Hey, when it's Jim Bob 0496 on Twitter, I will push back on them. But Stevie Johnson, you're like, yeah, okay. Hey, you played in the NFL. I guess I gotta concede right here. Michael, I will throw the same question to you, but what I really want to know from a fantasy perspective, when you look at the way that the Bears, and I know it's a small sample size and it was 2 drives, but when you look at the way the Bears were throwing the football around the field, how does this affect some of your fantasy rankings of the Bears stars moving forward? I called them stars, by the way. I don't know if anybody else would, but I called them stars.
I think they have definitely two. Like DJ Moore is a star, and I think Rome Odunze is a star in the making. And they have a lot of talent on the other pieces there, like Loveland, Komet, Burden. But I think those two guys are the two that I'm most interested in for fantasy. I have DJ Moore really high in my rankings. He's in my top 15, and then Rome is in my top 30. And I liked that Rome was moving all over the field. And look, the report came out the other day, like, we're seeing DJ Moore in the backfield and all over the field. And people were like, Ben Johnson doesn't know what to do with DJ Moore. And I'm like, no, it's Ben Johnson trying to put DJ Moore in as many positions as possible to touch the ball, which is a good thing. So, I think that they have the talent, like Stevie was saying. And I think Ben Johnson is the mastermind they need to get them to where everyone starts to realize, like, yeah, these guys are awesome, because they have all the talent in the world over there.
No, I really like the way that they've stacked talent and really built it around Caleb Williams. Stevie, let me ask you this before we get out of here. What's next? How do the Bills go on? I mean, obviously, it's not that big a deal. It's a preseason loss. Josh Allen didn't play. But what do the Bills need to work on now moving forward when something like this happens? Obviously, it probably doesn't matter too much. But what are you looking for the Bills to do over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, great question. And not to give you a watered down answer, and it's kind of tricky because preseason and during this time, we saw one of you guys, the Bears DBs, go down. That's what we dread. We hate seeing injuries. We hate seeing people going down before the regular season. So it's tough to play more physical, to set up more practice drills where you get more of that bump and holding and pulling type situations. Because you got to be careful in going into the season. Guys are delicate. Guys are worth more money. But I think that's what you have to do. Figure out a way as a coaching staff. Figure out a way to get guys mentally prepared to get in the fire and go attack a guy. And this is defense specific, again, because I feel like our offense is already there. Everybody's offense is there in the NFL, as we see. But on the defensive side, the ones that's making a difference are the ones that's being illegal and being a little bit more physical than the finesse defenses. And that's the way I see it, brother.
Yeah, that's what I like seeing out of the Chicago Bears too. That was one of the drawbacks of having the Matt Eberflus system, is just like the bend but don't break. You're like, this doesn't play in Chicago. It was fine, but then it just broke, and then it was not able to be fixed.
That was like last year,
right? And it gets real frustrating. It's like, I swear to God, like every time it was 3rd and 15, I would just dread it. I'm like, I know we're giving this up. I just know it. And then they would. Then they'd get down to the goal line and toughen up. And it's like, it's just too difficult to try to make that work. You want to get after it.
Because D-line. And that's why I'm so big and try to stay optimistic on our defensive line. Because if we can get pressure, then obviously you can hide a lot of things on the backside. And what Bean and the staff has done was added depth and a lot of versatility, which is versatility on paper. I've still yet to see a lot of the talent come out because they're still getting comfortable. But defensive line is where you can protect a lot of the DBs and those linebackers that has to do multiple reads.
I am a little nervous because like those were our rookies that were out there today. And I know they're 2nd and 3rd stringers and stuff, but like they got cooked. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is a like welcome to the NFL type moment. But like Stevie talks about a lot on our pod, like the depth is going to get tested. And there's going to be a game where these guys need to step up, and they're going to have to do better than they did today, because today was rough.
Yeah, it's one of those 7 out there.
Yeah, and it's fun too, because sometimes you run into a situation where you're like, hey, here comes our preseason game. And there's one side who's like, we're not here to play. We're here to just get down. And I think the Bears came out on a mission. I think you caught them at a part like, oh my God, they're really getting these guys are taking it seriously.
I'm sure those joint practices were very competitive, though.
I know, too. They had that going on, so they had that under their belt.
I did think that McDermott should have started Trubisky because it was his homecoming. Like, you make him wait until the second half to get out there. He's also, I think he locked up the QB2 job tonight.
That was a little news. Yeah, I agree with all that. But listen, Michael, when's the next episode of Bill's Banter dropping?
That's a good question.
I don't like that you're saying that's a good question. You got to get this sorted.
I think we're going to record tomorrow or Tuesday, and so it'll be out shortly after that.
Okay, and for the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank, obviously Fantasy Island returns tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. We do take it to the rank on Wednesday. I will be on CHGO Monday night as part of the 3 families of CHGO, The Tape Never Lies and the Sick Podcast with Adam Rake. We come together for the After Dark, and of course, we'll drop a special episode. I'm chasing down some guests, so we're going to go out there and do some stuff. But listen, guys, welcome to the Sick Podcast family. We're very excited to have you. It's going to be a great season all the way around. I know that you guys are going to be kicking ass and doing a lot of great things, and I know the fans are excited for it. I appreciate you guys coming on tonight at short notice, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, let's
Sounds
get it.
good.
One love.
All right. So for Stevie and Michael, I'm Adam. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for all your questions. And Shane, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too